The official road to WrestleMania 40 is here. That is our next pay-per-view. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and this is your WWE Raw review for February 26th, 2024, just 2 days removed from the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in Australia. And now we have the table set for WrestleMania, but there are still a lot of unanswered questions in terms of opponents for The Rock and for Gunther, and some of that groundwork was and seeds were planted for that tonight on Raw. I personally thought tonight's Raw was really good. You guys, please let me know in the chat what you would grade the show, A, B, C, or D, or 1 through 10. I got to give it a solid B. I think in recent years, we as fans have been really let down with WrestleMania season Raws. I can't tell you how many times in the past we would come up here for a Raw review during Mania season, and I would say things like, it just doesn't feel like Mania season. Like something's just off. It doesn't have, you know, it doesn't really get you excited or for the possibilities or the matchups or anything like that. It was just dead and inspirationless, and I just hated it. And now it feels like things are a little bit different. Like tonight was a great show. I thought that the Judgment Day and Imperium face-off was badass. I loved what Rollins and McIntyre did in the ring together as well. And even the final segment with Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman, they got to everything tonight, you know, and they really... You know, they're really, now it feels like going full speed ahead to WrestleMania now that nothing else is in the way. And I thought tonight's Raw was really good. We have a big SmackDown this Friday as well, because The Rock is going to be on that show seemingly to respond to the challenge Cody laid down at the Elimination Chamber in that, you know, completely pointless segment with Grayson Waller. The one thing that was revealed or said in that segment at the Chamber was that Cody issued a challenge to The Rock anytime, any place. And The Rock is going to be responding to that on Friday. A lot of rumors circulating that we could have a match between The Rock and Cody Rhodes on night 1. And then Cody faces Roman on night 2. It feels like at this point, if The Rock is going to wrestle, and he's going to wrestle at WrestleMania, that's pretty much the biggest match he could do, because it's Cody Rhodes. It's the man he slapped in Vegas. And I guess that's what they're going to do. It feels now more likely that it will be Cody and Rock than that tag match thing that we thought they might be teasing with that WrestleMania teaser. But I still feel like that's weird for Seth just to kind of be in the background and be Cody Rhodes' backup. I feel like he's got to have more to do with it. So maybe Cody challenges Rock, and then that initial, or Rock accepts Cody's challenge, but that initial acceptance then morphs into what could be a tag team match. I don't know. You know, Seth and McIntyre now seem like they are headed on a collision course with probably no possibility of Sammy coming into that now. This feels more like an Intercontinental title thing for Sammy, which we'll talk about as well. But McIntyre and Rollins does feel like it is going to be on one-on-one. I questioned whether or not they wanted to do that for a show as big as WrestleMania 40, considering we just got a little mini feud out of these guys at the tail end of that last year. And they wrestled on Raw in the beginning of the year for the title, which Seth won. But Drew McIntyre has really turned things around since then, and his character, he's doing the best work of his career right now, and many fans feel like he should be the guy. So I'm not going to resist it too much. I think McIntyre and Rollins can be good, especially when you tie in everything going on with the Bloodline. Tonight in the promo between the two, McIntyre said, dude, get out of this Bloodline shit, because I don't want you to tarnish or taint my championship victory. I don't want to beat you, you know, at 50% because you got bad knees, bad back, and the Bloodline has completely decimated you. I don't want you to be easy pickings type of thing. So there's a lot, you know, going on there. And now bringing Sami Zayn into that equation suddenly doesn't feel like it fits as well as it might have fit a week ago. And with what they teased on Raw tonight, it sounds like this path to WrestleMania, this match that he's going to get, could in fact be against Gunther. But Gunther's got a lot of other possibilities as well, like Chad Gable and like Damian Priest, perhaps even that big head feller that's in Judgment Day as well, or whatever Gunther called him tonight. So I personally am looking really forward to WrestleMania. Last year, it felt like a pretty decent build as well. 38, I didn't love because of the Brock and Roman thing again. But this Mania is so far is feeling pretty good to me. And I tell you what, man, it's been a ride, has it not? You think back to last year when we were coming into the Survivor Series and CM Punk came back and things couldn't be better in WWE. We were so excited and stoked for Mania. It couldn't get here fast enough. And then the Vince nonsense explodes, and that whole thing was ugly. And then right after that, The Rock comes back, or right before that, excuse me, The Rock comes back, seemingly knocking Cody off that perch, that, you know, coinciding with the Vince stuff, and then everything just crumbles. CM Punk got hurt, and it felt like all these great WrestleMania plans were suddenly just completely out the window now, and it was freaking us out. And WWE has recovered a bit, at least for now. The Vince McMahon news has cooled off. It doesn't mean it's over. It's only the beginning, but at least in terms of us being bombarded with a lot of disgusting fucking shit, we've gotten a little bit of a break from that over the past few weeks, allowing WWE to recover from their Rock flop with him coming in and taking the match at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, and WWE trying to fix that situation now. They feel like they've got it fixed. They are now headed straight towards WrestleMania with their plans back in place, and it feels pretty good. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it stays this way, because we still have about 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that, until we get to WrestleMania, and there's a lot of time to fuck shit up. But so far, I'm liking the way it's looking for WrestleMania. Not everybody's going to get a shot. Not everybody can be world champion. Not everybody who's, gaining momentum or popularity is going to be able to have the big main stage of WrestleMania. There's always going to be people left out. But in terms of what they seem like they're setting up, I'm feeling good about Mania in Philly. So, welcome to your Raw review, like I said, for February 26th, 2024. This will probably be the last live stream of February, and then it is on to the march to WrestleMania, and it's going to be a big march here on the channel. Lots of special episodes and reviews. I think I've got 2 reviews, a special episode, 3 collaborations, the first of which I'm taping and recording tomorrow afternoon, and that will be uploaded on March 1st. In March, we're going to have like a Mania March here on the channel. So throughout the month of March, you're going to see special episodes in addition to all of our already existing live streams and watch-alongs. It's going to be a very heavy WrestleMania themed month here on the channel, and I'm looking forward to it, because last year I went to Mania in LA and I lost, a lot of that, YouTube Mania stuff. So I want to make sure I do a good one here on the channel this year. Since it is the 40th WrestleMania, it's a milestone show, and I plan on enjoying this milestone with you guys. So make sure you subscribe, stay tuned, all that jazz. By the way, hit that thumbs up button if you don't mind. Memberships are open, so are super chats, and we'll be getting into a lot of chat tonight. Anything you guys want to ask me or talk about, we will get into it. And yes, we will talk briefly about Ole Anderson as well. His death was announced, I think, right before Raw went live tonight. So the wrestling world did lose Ole Anderson. Let me cruise to the chat, say hello to whoever is in here. Oh, not a lot of people so far. Okay, I'm thinking there's like 10,000 people in here. We don't have that many chatting, but let me do a refresh just so I can say hi. Let me see who we got. We've got, let's do the channel members, like the Juliet, JJ Leg. Y'all are the only ones? Okay, we got almost 100 people in here, but not many people chatting yet. Rarely Even has got $5 for us. Thank you for that, my friend. LA Knight made himself a star all by himself and has worked his ass off to be a top guy. What's he going to get of it? A random match with AJ Styles. I understand how you feel, or I understand where your mind is at, but there is nothing wrong with an LA Knight and AJ Styles match at WrestleMania. What do you want him to do? I'm sorry, there's just no room for him in the world title picture right now. There's not. He's over, and he's gained a lot of popularity and momentum, but I'm still yet to be a LA Knight believer. I believe he's got the charisma tool, the charismatic tools, and the mic skills to be a top guy, to be a main eventer, and to ride a momentum wave for sure. He's not bad in the ring at all. He's got a good look. He does seem to have all the tools, but he is a, big fish in a very big pond. If this was 1996, I think he'd be WWE champion tomorrow. But unfortunately, he's got a lot of competition in that locker room, and it's crowded at the top. And WWE has not been perfect with their booking of LA Knight. It's been over a year now since it feels like the fans have really been clamoring for him, but it really hasn't been in the cards for him to really rise to the top yet. And my feeling on it, as long as his momentum continues, I still think there's plenty of options for him in 2024. And I think what LA Knight might need even more than a championship right now is a really good WrestleMania performance. And you cannot find a better opponent than AJ Styles to give you that WrestleMania performance. If you can't go out there on the WrestleMania stage and have a good match with AJ Styles, then you're really not meant to be at the top. So in my mind, this is LA Knight's chance to have a barn burner with AJ Styles. I'd go out there and fucking crush it and beat AJ Styles, a multi-time champion, a legend, a bona fide first ballot day one Hall of Famer. The minute he retires, he will be announced for the Hall of Fame an hour and a half later. It's going to be that fast. So you have a big win over AJ, builds your momentum past WrestleMania, and then boom, you got Money in the Bank on the horizon and a whole nother opportunity for LA Knight. Last year, Money in the Bank might not have been in the cards for him. It's been the Priest show, but this year it could be a whole different story. So I would not freak out too much about LA Knight. Remember last year? We all wanted him on the card and they didn't put him on the card at fucking all. Neither did they didn't do that for Bobby Lashley as well, right? Bobby just had the Battle Royal thing on SmackDown and then came out and waved. Fuck that. If he's going to be getting a match with AJ Styles, we should be happy that he's getting a match with a Hall of Fame former world champion. That is definitely better than nothing. And he's not going to be challenging Rollins because that thing is with Drew. And of course, we know what Cody and Roman is doing. I don't know if LA Knight's really the guy to take the belt off of Gunther. There was a lot of talk of LA Knight and Logan Paul at WrestleMania, which I think would have been a lot of fun, especially on the mic. But with what we saw Logan Paul do at Elimination Chamber, I thought Logan would maybe face Kevin Owens and blow off their issue at WrestleMania. But now it looks like it might be a Randy Orton thing. And a Randy Orton and Logan Paul program, I'm sorry, rarely even. I like the sound of that a little bit more than Logan Paul and LA Knight. I'd rather find something else for LA Knight to do, which is what WWE might be doing. And I personally don't really have that much of a problem with LA Knight and AJ Styles for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to be a good match. Number two, LA Knight's going to win. Calm yourself, you know? That's my thought on LA Knight and AJ Styles. Let's see what else you said. Are you still mad? 5 more? Send LA Knight after Gunther or Logan Paul. It's pretty obvious, Greg. No, it's not obvious. It's not just about, like, you don't just need a championship. Like, you should still build momentum, wait till the time is right. At this point, you would be, you know, Gunther needs to wrestle somebody that's not LA Knight. Gunther needs to lose the title to somebody that's not charisma first, ring work second. You know, he needs to lose to a Gable or even a Sammy or there could be, you could even throw Braun Breaker into that, you know, equation if you wanted. And I did like the Logan Paul idea, rarely even, but not as much as I like Randy Orton. LA Knight's great and everything. I got no issue with him, but I do not feel like he's been treated unfairly, really, at all. The Mountain Dew fuckboy match last year with Bray Wyatt was stupid, and leaving him off of WrestleMania last year was stupid. But the title scene in WWE has been crowded at the top. You got part-timers holding belts right now. I don't know what you want them to do with him other than feature him on TV. He's on TV every week, on TV, getting cheers in matches. I mean, until there's room to plug him into a championship equation, that's all you can really ask for. So I think you're inventing things to be upset about that don't really warrant it, but who cares? Anyway, good to see Connor, Superman, Bass Fisher, right on. We've got, like I said, JJ Leg, Juliet, Green Pea, David Brown is here, so's Big J, Bo Klavlovic, Mega Teddy, Northern Punk, Brian Spencer, Joseph Champine. We got Zayn G, did I get you? Not sure if I got Zayn G yet. Good to see you. There's some more friends that I recognize. We've got Chris Ludek up in here. Nate Dogg is here. So is 7th Season. Brian Jacobs, Gilbert. Good to see you guys. Welcome. Like I said, we've been shooting the shit here so far and haven't really got into too much of the meat and taters of tonight's episode, but I think it's time to do that now. And I think what we need to do briefly is just recap this past Saturday's Elimination Chamber. Now, I was a big boy. I stayed up all night from 2 till 5:30 in the morning and watched Elimination Chamber right here live on YouTube with you guys. And thank you to everyone that stayed up late with me, the nerds who didn't fall asleep. And we had a nice, fun slumber party. And we had a lot of people chiming in from the UK and over in Europe who are regular listeners but don't often get to chat live. And it was good to see all of you guys. And it was just a fun middle of the night pay-per-view watch along that I've never done. I've never streamed at those hours before. 1,500 videos nearly on my channel. And I've never done a live stream during that specific time of the night. So it was fun. Appreciate everybody being here. But by the time the show was over, I was not feeling like doing a recap. And luckily for me, WWE took it easy on me. I'm not going to really shit on the show too much because what they did, fans, including myself, said it was predictable. I went perfect in my predictions. Even in my predictions, I was saying that I'm probably going to go perfect in my predictions. Predictable isn't always bad, because what would the alternative have been for them to not have a predictable show? Give us swerves for the sake of swerves? Fuck up and uproot all their plans, which last time they did that in January with The Rock coming out, we all freaked out, remember? So I don't know what we really wanted in terms of them making it less predictable. The quality of the chamber matches were decent. Women's wasn't so good. Men's was pretty good. And I thought Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax had a terrific main event. But overall, very predictable show, but it really wasn't meant to give us a whole lot of swerves. I think that they could have done better with Elimination Chamber. Triple H came out, by the way, and announced the attendance at about 52,000, I think he said it was. But they had a whole bunch of that arena tarped off, and a lot of pockets of empty seats. It didn't look nearly as full as All In, to be honest. But I felt like that's almost like WWE's fault. They could have packed that place out if they wanted to. It's not like they were maxed out here. If they really, really wanted to make this a huge show, they could have booked The Rock for this thing. Remember a month ago when we were talking about Rock and Roman Reigns happening here at this show? Imagine, it would have been completely filled in, but it didn't have really that big, it didn't look as nice as Crown Jewels and Saudi Arabia shows. And I don't know why. I felt like this would be a big market for them to hit, give them a big PLE and say, hey, you're going to be seeing us again. And I'm sure they will return there. It's just, I don't have that feeling like I'm dying. I didn't come away from Elimination Chamber saying, man, I cannot wait until they go back to Perth. That was awesome. They didn't give me that feeling. It's not the fans' fault. It's not Perth's fault. WWE just didn't really deliver outside of the matches that they had scheduled and gave us no surprises and didn't book anything too majorly for a show that was in an outdoor stadium. My God, have The Rock and Roman come out there and confront Cody and Seth on the Waller effect, or just fuck the Waller effect and just have those four in the ring. That moment, the flashbulbs, the setup to Mania. I guess we just had that in Vegas, but I felt like that would have been a pretty good thing to give to the Australian crowd there. But I feel like when it comes to international shows, I feel like Backlash is going to be huge. I feel like that one is going to have a much better, kind of vibe to it. Every time they've gone to London or anywhere in the UK, the crowd is just jacked and white hot. And Australia was good. They had a good time. The fans seemed like they enjoyed themselves. But if I was in the arena that night, I might have been wanting a little bit more than what WWE delivered on. But they opened up with the Elimination Chamber. Becky Lynch, of course, won that. My only issue with that, it's a predictability thing. I don't mind the show was predictable, but what I really didn't like about this is they told you before, they've been telling us pretty much all year that it's going to be Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch, but they really solidified that at the WrestleMania kickoff in Vegas when the two of them had a face-off. I don't even understand. Well, who the fuck else was going to win this then? Like, imagine if another lady would have won, if it would have been Tiffany or Bianca or something, then why the fuck was So, to me, it was like, why did you do that? But they had the kickoff scheduled for that date, which preceded Elimination Chamber, and they wanted to get that face off. They wanted to get that image. And so they did it, framing it in a way of Becky is going to make sure she's going to win and she just wants to win. It's not like they were telling us that was the match that was going to happen, but it's wrestling. That's the match that's going to happen. So Becky winning, my only concern here going into this match is what I mentioned in my predictions, is that nobody gets hurt, because we know Becky is going to win, and I would hate for someone to get injured here or put unnecessary wear and tear or mileage on their bodies for nothing. So Becky did wind up winning. It was an okay match, but not that surprising. We had the men's chamber, which was very good. Drew McIntyre, of course, did win that. He was my pick. Logan Paul stood out in that. He was very, very good in that pod, drawing backwards. This dude just gets it. He is, like I said in my last podcast, it really annoys me to love him, but I do. I feel like if you didn't know that he was already like some internet celebrity, he would just feel like a wrestler. He feels like more like a wrestler. He feels like a wrestler first, and then all his other shit is secondary. not the other way around. And I thought he was awesome in that. And of course, what happened at the end there with him being the reason that Randy Orton didn't win is really great because, you know, as Rarely Even really wants LA Knight and Logan Paul. That would be a fun match, and that would be a really fun build on the mic. What might be more fun is Randy Orton and Logan Paul, because now it's, you know, if there's one guy in the company, because with Logan and LA Knight, I feel like their promos would have been more like a battle. Logan Paul, you know, is facing somebody in Randy Orton who is probably, to him, should even be more scary than Roman Reigns, the tribal chief. This is the Viper. This is the person that's not afraid to punt the head of your wife. He will do it. He will enter your home, or maybe Triple H invaded his home. Randy Orton might have invaded a home too. He will do some sick shit. And if there's one guy in the company right now in terms of his character, his experience, his legacy, and, you know, his spot in WWE, if there's one guy that's not going to take that little douchebag's shit, it's the fucking Viper. And I think that can be super fun. And based on how Logan Paul knocked Randy Orton out, Randy Orton, of course, hit Logan with the RKO and pinned him to eliminate him. And you could see during the match that Logan was taking way too long getting out. And I said when we were watching, I'm like, something's going on with Logan Paul over there. And then he came back and belted Randy Orton with the Nux and cost him the match. So Orton and Logan seems fun. And of course, AJ Styles made his presence known in that match right after the Bobby Lashley elimination. And the same thing was happening. We were watching live and I said, something's going on with Lashley over there. They're taking way too long to get him out of the cage. And that was because they were waiting for AJ Styles to come in with the chair and wear out LA Knight, and that's going to set up their Mania match. So I felt like what they set up there in the chamber was actually good, because now we do know that will probably be Logan and AJ and LA Knight and Logan Paul and Randy Orton for WrestleMania. And that answers some questions, because I was wondering what Randy Orton was going to do. Prior to Elimination Chamber, I was thinking it was going to be LA Knight and Kevin Owens, Logan Paul and Kevin Owens, or Logan Paul and LA Knight. Now it feels like it might be LA Knight and Randy Orton, but had it been the other way, I was wondering what Randy Orton was going to do. Now I'm starting to wonder what Kevin Owens is going to do, because it still feels like their issue isn't totally resolved, but now there's a brand new one with Randy Orton. So that should be fun to see play out on SmackDown, and we'll see what Kevin Owens winds up doing at WrestleMania, because I hope it's something relatively substantial, I guess. And maybe there will be some sort of a multi-man thing for the U.S. title. Maybe Logan's got to face Owens and Randy Orton, but I feel like Logan and Randy Orton might be fun just one-on-one. So we will see. And of course, the Grayson Waller effect had Cody and Seth Rollins on that, where Cody officially challenged The Rock to a match any place, anytime. Austin Theory was out there just to take an ass kicking. Grayson Waller was in his home country, so he didn't even have to take a bump or anything. We also saw Judgment Day retain their tag team titles, and in the main event, I thought Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax absolutely crushed it. That was a really fun main event. They did give the women the final match so Ripley could win in front of her homeland, and her family was there in the front row. And Nia Jax went out there and did what she was supposed to do. She put Ripley over, and I said that I wanted that match to kind of be, you know, hard-hitting and brutal, and it really was. You know, she was working over Ripley pretty good there, and Nia Jax was taking bumps and doing things physically in the ring that I wasn't used to seeing her do. And the whole time we were watching the match, we were all calling out some sort of like second rope riptide finish. But it was just a regular ass riptide. She actually got her up and planted her down, and it was just great the way Nia took the bump and the way her body kind of snapped and contorted. It looked so good. Ripley pins her, wins, celebrates, main event. Glad WWE gave her that moment. That was really cool. So I thought they finished strong with the main event. And even though the card itself was predictable, you know, it was delivered in an okay enough way. I just felt like WWE could have given Perth a bigger show if they wanted to, but maybe they don't want The Rock and Roman Reigns and have a lot of shit happen, you know, during a time when fans in the States are going to be watching in the middle of the night. But if you're going to expand internationally, and this is going to be a regular thing, and you're going to start having pay-per-views all over the country, you're going to have to accept that we here in the States might just have to sleep through an appearance of a major star every now and then if that happens. We won't here on the channel because we have a duty and an obligation to you guys. But if you're a regular ass fan, you might sleep through that. WWE knows it. And, you know, maybe that's why they're not booking big things, but they need to get out of that mentality because that's the way it used to be until they started making these shows mean a little bit more. And they've slowly crept up and gotten where we're a far cry from those old VHS one night only type of overseas pay-per-views that they would do just for WWF home video and nothing would ever happen on those shows. So we've come a long way from, you know, glorified house shows when they run international stadiums to shit actually happens on these shows. So I would like to see that continue. And I thought they were a little weak on that one for Elimination Chamber. Like I said earlier on, the wrestling world did lose Ole Anderson today, passed away at the age of 81. Looks like Ricky Morton was the first one to announce this news. And of course, Ole Anderson, he has a long legacy in wrestling. He has done a lot. He began wrestling in the 60s with his kayfabe brother, Gene Anderson. They were the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, and they won upwards of a dozen tag team titles. I think Ole himself has held over 20 tag team championships with random partners or multiple partners, many with Gene Anderson, but he's won them with Ivan Koloff and some other people. He, of course, was a founding member of the Four Horsemen, and he also was a booker for Georgia Championship Wrestling and Jim Crockett Promotions. Ole Anderson was the voice of the Shockmaster. He was responsible for gimmicks and angles like the Black Scorpion. And he was always kind of like a grumpy old man. You know, Ole was very hard-nosed, very no-nonsense, which I did like a lot. But, you know, at the same time, he could just come off like an asshole. And whenever I've listened to podcasts, listened to shoot interviews, or heard anybody tell any sort of a story about Ole Anderson, I very rarely like them. And if they always turn me off. And if I do like the story, it's usually because Ole was such a gargantuan level asshole that it was just funny, that it was entertaining. My God, how could somebody be that much of a fucking prick that it actually makes you laugh, not make you mad? And Ole had a lot of stories like that. You watch his old shoot interviews from back in the day. He's just a grumpy old man. You know, a lot of guys like that, a lot of old timers are like that, you know, and now a lot of stars that were big even in the early 90s in the Attitude Era are starting to get that way, set in their ways, you know, very, very much of the belief that wrestling should have never evolved at all. And it was only good when it was in their era and the way they did things. And that would come across in his shoot interviews. Now you fast forward to modern era, you have people like Bully Ray and Al Snow who literally talk down to you like they are the only people that know this. It's not rocket science. You know, you're not cardiologists. You're not heart surgeons. You're fucking wrestlers. Yes, we know you've done this before and you might have a level of intuition that regular fans don't have, but the way they explain things to you like you are a fucking dumbass is really hard to listen to, you know, for them to lecture, you know, you. And whenever Bully Ray or Al Snow talks about, I watched Al Snow get all mad about a Rhea Ripley YouTube interview the other day. And I'm like, it's not 1999, man. Or it's not 1989, excuse me. Those years are done. Wrestling evolves. Everything evolves. When you were just stuck and set in those ways, you come across as bitter, as grumpy, and as an asshole. And Ole was like that a lot in his later years. But during his in-ring career, he was not to be trifled with. He was a tough, no-nonsense Southern boy, thick as fuck, and he looked the part. And he, you know, even in his promos, you know, I wouldn't put him in a category of Jake Roberts because nobody is in that category. His promos weren't even very good. What was noticeable about his is just he just talked in his promos. Never screamed. You know, you get upset a little bit here and there, but for the most part, same kind of tone to his demeanor and his vibe. And he was just very, very no nonsense. And it was great. And then he fit in perfectly with Arn, who came in because they kind of looked alike. And then, of course, Arn was made into an Anderson as well, and had a good, you know, run there with Flair and JJ and that whole deal before he transferred into behind the scenes. But Ole, I've never really had any problems with him. I don't I've never met Ole Anderson. I know people who do know him though, and I don't really think I could have anything personal against the guy because he had a hell of a career. I think with him, it was just really, really funny and amusing to listen to stories about what a grumpy fucking dude he was. And that's going to be a big part of his legacy. You know, he's always going to be remembered as this grumpy fucking Gus. And, you know, some wrestlers have stories of him just being a flat out jerk to them, but in almost like an endearing way. I think I saw right before we went live here, I saw a tweet from, I think it was Hurricane Helms, who went to the WCW power plant. And Ole was like, "What are you doing here? You're looking for a contract or something?" And he's like, "No, I just signed a 3-year deal." And Ole goes, "What the fuck are you doing here then?" So get the hell out of my training facility if you've got a 3-year deal. So just little things like that, just man of few words, you know, simple, direct, deliberate, to the point, no nonsense, and you know, straight shooter type of thing. And he will be missed and he will be remembered always. Ole was kind of one of a kind there. So we will probably talk more about Ole. I didn't have time to really prepare anything about Ole's career. I'm just going by memory here. Maybe this week on the podcast, we'll get a little bit more into Ole Anderson if you guys want. But that was a big loss. But hey, I mean, for wrestling deaths, when you're making it into your 80s, that's a success. You know, it really is. There's no going to be no dark side of the ring of Ole Anderson. He lived to be 81, and that's awesome. Some condolences to Ole's friends, his family, and everybody in the business who worked alongside him or with him or knew him. It's always sad when the business loses one, and Ole has passed. So anyway, rest in peace, Ole Anderson, and your legacy. Marty, I do like Al Snow. I've always liked Al Snow, but man, like, I think it was like an old, maybe it was Tough Enough or something. And just, he's in the ring talking to the students. And I understand when you're talking to people that's a third of your age, you know, you have to, you know, you kind of have to tell them what's what a little bit. But I think it was like, he said something like, "Who here can tell me a definition of a mark?" And I'm like, okay, we know it's not going to be what he thinks we think it is. And he's going to have some stupid ass long drawn out thing, you know, to talk about, and this fucking pointless history lesson. And just, it's just like the demeanor. It's the vibe. It's just a personal thing for me. It's like that in my jobs that I've had. I don't like to be talked to like I'm 5. I'm a grown ass fucking man, perfectly capable of thinking and understanding shit. You don't need to talk to me like I'm an idiot. And I've never liked that or appreciated it from coaches, from teachers, from bosses, from anybody in my life. And I just, when I hear like Bully Ray and Al Snow criticize things, they're talking from a perspective that their era is the only way it should be done, and wrestling should not have evolved. TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube, none of that stuff exists, and you should still think like you think with the mentality that you had in 1994. And I think that's incredibly short-sighted, and it feels like a lot of them are like that. So when I was talking about Ole and some of his, you know, kind of harsh opinions that he might have on the business, it made me think of that generation now and some of the guys that we're seeing who are like that just pontificate, you know, and it's just like, God, shut the fuck up. It's just wrestling. It's not that deep, you know, and sometimes they make it way deeper than it needs to be and get too upset and let things bother them that they really have no control over, and they're not going to be able to stop. Wrestling will never stop evolving. If you have ever yelled out in anger, "This is not wrestling," about something you saw on a wrestling show, I promise you, it was. It was definitely wrestling. Wrestling has evolved. There's no one way to do it. I don't care if Kenny Omega is having a fucking wrestling match with a blow-up doll. It's wrestling. It's happening in a ring. It's wrestling. It's professional wrestling. People bought tickets to see it. You can't do anything about it. So those are the type of people that I just give the Heisman to, like, get away from me. So anyway, there's a little mini good mic work rant attached to an Ole Anderson tribute. That's really nice. What a great guy that Greg is. Anyway, we should talk about Monday Night Raw, I think, tonight. Before we do that, let me see if I got another super to answer. So far, Rarely Even's our guy in here. He's got a couple of more here. I think you got 3 more. All right, let's knock out these from Rarely Even, and then we'll get into our Raw results here. Thank you for 5 there. My friend Nia has gotten better in the ring, and she's doing great work, but good Lord, she is putrid on the mic. She shouldn't even talk. Needs a heater. Yeah, I mean, Nia's Nia. I didn't want really Nia Jax back, but I've been very pleasantly surprised about how she's been used. I was thinking it was going to be a complete disaster. So your cup half empty, I'm half full. And with Nia Jax, I am pleasantly surprised with how WWE has utilized her, because when she came in, I wanted nothing to do with her back. But she's had some good matches. Not everybody can talk on the mic. Some people suck on the mic. Some people just suck on the mic. I think with Nia Jax, there's been plenty of other times in my career where I've wanted nothing to do with her. Right now is not really one of those times. You got 5 more. I've never seen what the more complaining. Oh God, you're funny. I've never seen what the big deal is about Damian Priest. He's awesome. He has the personality of a windshield wipers. I like the rest mid-card day better. Rarely even. I'm going to let you in on a secret. I don't really like you. I'm sorry. I don't like your attitude. I don't like what you say. I think you're too miserable in your life or something, and I think you need a hug. So why don't you be a little more cheerful? Or just fuck off. But hey, thanks for all the $5 you're raining on me. Raining Lincoln's up in here. Punk versus Drew for the world title at SummerSlam. Realistic? There's a normal question. See, you're not mad. You're not insulting anybody. You're not making broad assumptions or generalizations about something that you think sucks. You're just asking a regular question. See, that's normal behavior. Take a lesson from yourself. Punk versus Drew for the world title at SummerSlam. Realistic? Yeah, I think it is realistic. I mean, Drew has a title match at WrestleMania, so he could win the title. I've always thought that Priest cashing in at WrestleMania would be the best thing to do, and then McIntyre gets a title shot, and then Punk costs him that shot, setting up the match at SummerSlam, because you could do Punk and Drew not for the title. Doesn't have to be for the title, but... And plus Drew's contract, is still not, he's not re-upped apparently yet. So maybe that's still, floating over everyone's heads. But McIntyre could maybe win the title at WrestleMania, but then perhaps drop it when Priest cashes in on him or something. But I feel like whatever they do with McIntyre in the title, at some point they have to have Punk come back and really, really fuck him over. I mean, we're going to talk about what he did tonight in that promo, and the fact that he is not letting up on his CM Punk hate, and you have to have Punk come back at some point and get some retribution for that. So I think the best way to do that is either cost McIntyre the title as in he's champion and he loses it, or if he gets a title shot, Punk comes in and screws him, one or the other. Normal, regular questions is what we like here, rarely even. And go have some cereal. All right, so here's what happened on Monday Night Raw tonight. We had Dominic opening up the show. I loved it because as soon as you saw Dominic in the middle of the ring, you knew what he was there to do. Introduce Mommy, which he does. She comes out in all her glory, brags about winning at Elimination Chamber, and I stand here still your world. I hate that. It's the worst trope in promos. And every promotion, every wrestler across the board does it everywhere. Men, women, AEW, TNA, WWE, doesn't matter. Whenever you are cutting a promo and you are a champion, if you're going to be defending your belt at the pay-per-view, you say at some point in your promo, my name is so-and-so, and I am your insert company name, world heavyweight champion, or whatever the fuck it might be. And then if they retain at the pay-per-view, they have to come out and say, I am insert name here, and I am still your world, that type of thing. I'm like, why don't you just say, aha, I still got the belt, haha, fuck you, and that's it, move on. It's just so drawn out. They all do it. It's silly. I worry that kids are rehearsing this in front of the mirror with their replica belts and fake microphone. I was looking at my lint roller, like a microphone, and they're like cutting promos in their bathroom mirror, and they're saying shit like that. Don't say like that. Don't say that stuff. It's too formulaic. Everybody does it. Be different, be unique, and stop with that shit. It's annoying. So anyway, she says that. Becky Lynch then comes out. Rhea Ripley didn't even get a chance to say a whole lot because Becky hit the ring, and she gets on the mic, calls Dominic a little kumquat, which I loved, and Ripley warns Becky not to disrespect her dom-dom, and that's when Nia Jax shows up with her Tina Turner hair, and she attacks Becky Lynch from behind, and the officials kind of stop Nia Jax from hitting the bonsai drop on Becky Lynch. Now, they had announced that Liv Morgan would be facing Nia Jax later on in the show, and the fact that Jax was not allowed to hit that bonsai drop on Becky, and Becky was able to, for the most part, walk away from that, told me that she was going to be turning back up in Nia Jax match later, which she did. First in-ring match of the night is Sami Zayn and Nakamura. Before we get into that, let me answer this one from Rarely Even. That actually came out wrong. I meant to say I don't like what you... I didn't mean to say I didn't like you, but I think I did say that, didn't I? That's my bad. I meant what my brain was trying to say is I don't like what you say, because I didn't like what you were saying. But Rarely Even has got 5 more. I've just had a couple of long days at work, and I'm a bit grumpy. Understandable. I'm sorry you don't like me. I have lots of positive things to say, too. I'm sorry I don't like you. I didn't totally mean that. I just didn't mean, I don't really like your attitude is kind of what I was saying. I don't know you personally, but your super chats are very grumpy, very angry, very critical. And I don't feel like that's the point of wrestling. If you're watching wrestling to be critical and mad and angry and you're hate watching everything and more things are upsetting you than entertaining you, you should not watch wrestling, and you shouldn't watch me either. Just some advice. But he does appreciate Dom's shtick, as do I. I hope he never turns face again. Who is better at playing a little prick better than this kid? Nobody. Nobody. Nobody is better than Dominic at what he does. Dominic is tremendous. I fucking love him. I really wish we could have gotten that Dominic and Brock Lesnar match. I kind of hope Dom gets like a pay-per-view main event or something just crazy. Just keep building on that heat. I love the kid. He's done great. He was so, I guess, like unremarkable. Like I barely even noticed he was there when he was a babyface teaming with his dad. He just didn't do anything for me. Hell, I was thinking that Goldberg's kid was way more impressive. I remember thinking that Dominic better look out for Goldberg's kid to get in the ring. He might eat Dominic up, but now Dominic, it's in his blood. You can now see that coming out. He just needed to find his thing. And now he's a little bit of his dad. He's a little bit of Eddie, and he's a little bit of Art Barr all rolled into one. And he's terrific. And I fucking love Dominic. So nobody is better than him. We love Dom on this channel. But anyway, Sami Zayn was facing Shinsuke Nakamura in the opening match of the night. Now, they are still playing up this whole thing with Sami Zayn. He's very desperate. He's very determined to get to not only WrestleMania, but prove that he's a contender. He wants to prove that he is a contender in this business, and he keeps making a big deal about that. And he already took a loss to Nakamura a week or two ago or whenever that was. So it felt likely he was going to get that win back here, because if he were to lose here, I don't know if you would really have enough time between now and WrestleMania to get him redeemed and in some sort of a match. So it felt like the turnaround has to start here. So I wasn't expecting him to lose here, and he didn't. Really good match, and one of the best Helluva kicks I've ever seen. Excellent camera angle with Sami coming in and taking Nakamura's head off. He wins and moves forward. Now, originally, I was thinking like last week, and as we talked about here on the show, that Sami Zayn would find his way into the World Heavyweight Championship match, because Rollins and Drew has already been done, so maybe a way to spice it up would be to add Sami. They might still do that, but it's starting to feel like Sami Zayn could have a different path and be challenging for a different championship. And you do have to think about that, because we're going to skip one match ahead. We have Chelsea and Raquel up next, but after that match, we had Sami Zayn backstage after his win with Jackie Redmond, and that's when, and I was just thinking it in my head too, because I'm like, Sami Zayn just keeps saying a contender, a champion. He's just saying a champion. I'm like, one good, huge victory he could have at WrestleMania is to be the guy to dethrone Gunther. He wasn't really on my radar to do that at all. I had Gable or Big E or Okada or, somebody like that doing it. And Sami Zayn kind of coming in from behind. I'm like, okay, I can live with that. So Sami is talking to Jackie. Imperium show up with Gunther. Little stare down there, and Gunther says something about his title belt, and he walks away because they have a match next, and Gunther's going to be cutting a promo. So that little tease right there got me thinking. I'm like, okay, Sami and Gunther. I could probably live with that. But as we would see later, they would also bring up other contenders. And somebody mentioned, I think on Twitter, that you could do like a multi-man ladder match on night 1 with the winner challenging Gunther on night 2. That might be fun as well. But there would be a lot of double duty going on if you did that. I mean, if we're talking double duty for Cody, double duty for the winner of the ladder match, possibly more double duty if Roman or Seth gets involved in these matches, there could be a lot of that. But I do like that as a possibility. But now it looks like Zayn, maybe he's not going to have anything to do with the World Heavyweight title, and it's going to be an Intercontinental title thing for him and that type of a moment. He did have the main event moment last year, winning the tag team titles. If he were to win the World Heavyweight title this year in, a scenario that I said where he wins the title and then Priest cashes in or something, or if he just wins the title, I don't know if there's room on the show to really give him that moment, because if we get The Rock accepting Cody Rhodes' challenge, and that match is going to take place at WrestleMania, that's probably going to be your night 1 main event. I don't know how it's not, which means Cody's going to main event both nights of WrestleMania, which could be weird. I might change my tune on that. If Rock and Cody Rhodes agree to a match, I think that should open night 1. I think that should be the very first match at WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes and The Rock, one-on-one, night 1, opener. Because otherwise, then you're going to have Cody main eventing both nights. You can make that opening match a big deal. Hopefully traffic isn't bad. Everybody gets into the arena and you do the kickoff and you have Cody and Rock open. That could be a lot of fun. But if that match is going to happen, Sami Zayn being involved in the world title, maybe it's just not really time for that. So it's going to be the Intercontinental title. So we will see. They teased it, and it feels like now the IC is a much more likely destination or challenge for Sami Zayn than him worming his way or finding his way into the Rollins and McIntyre match. That's the way I see it. So after Sami beat Nakamura, we had a Chelsea promo in the ring. She's in there to face Raquel Rodriguez. She says that she's competing in protest because the fans wanted her to win, and it should have been her that won instead of the returning Raquel, who showed up last week, won that Battle Royal second chance thing, and got the final spot in the chamber. Then Chelsea is pissed about that, and now she has to face Raquel. Raquel comes out. Of course, Raquel's dealing with a lot right now with her health, but she is at least clear to be back in action, and she seems to be happy to be there and happy to be back, and she made pretty quick work of the hot mess. Chelsea Green hitting her with the Tahana Bomb for the win, and Raquel is back. Then after Sami's interview backstage, we get Cody Rhodes' interview backstage, and he is with the... Just moment of silence for Kathy Kelly. Okay, so Cody was backstage with Kathy Kelly, and he basically said, "You slapped me, so I challenge you to a match anytime, any place, and I await your rebuttal." And then he talked a little bit about Grayson Waller. He's been watching him from afar and whatnot, and of course, he's going to make pretty easy work of him in the main event. Now we're out to the ring. Now it's time for Gunther to speak. Gunther and Imperium are in the ring because Imperium has got this big street fight thing coming up with the New Day next. But Gunther's going to talk about his WrestleMania plans next. And he says, who is my WrestleMania opponent going to be? That's what I want to know, because it was first going to be Brock, and then there was lots of other ideas. I've wanted it to be Gable for months. I still kind of low-key hope that it is Gable. But it could be anybody at this point. They're kind of lining up a lot of people for Gunther, or possibilities, I should say, for Gunther. And then the Judgment Day's music hits. Now, help me out. Have we had any crossover between the Judgment Day and Imperium? I feel like we have, but there was something about this face-off in the ring that felt huge. It really did. It had a big-time feel to it, and I loved it. So all of Judgment Day comes out, and it's Priest, and it's Gunther, and their factions are behind them, and it's a hell of a looking face-off there. And don't forget, Priest has got the money in the bank, and even Gunther says, "I know you're not here to cash that in on me," which Priest technically could do. I'm pretty sure you can cash that thing in on anyone because they cashed it in on the U.S. title last time. So I feel like Priest and Gunther teasing that possibility for WrestleMania would be a great match just right there. And so I was immediately kind of happy because I'm like, all right, if this is going to be one-on-one, they've literally put me in a position as a fan where I'm going to be happy with whatever they do here. If it's Gunther and Sammy, terrific. If it's Gunther and Gable, even better. And if it's Gunther and Priest, sure, I'm into those two large gentlemen beating the shit out of each other on a major pay-per-view for a championship, of course. So either way, we're going to be feeling pretty good there as wrestling fans. But is it going to be a one-on-one match? Is that what we're going to get? Or is it going to be a multi-man thing or something like that? So Judgment Day comes out. They have the stare down, the face-off. Priest is on the mic, and he said they ran the table at the Elimination Chamber, and they've got all the belts and all the accolades, and they own everything, including his belt, basically telling Gunther that they're going to take that title off of him. And then Gunther asks, who's it going to be? Which one of you is going to take the title from me? Is it going to be the big head guy right there talking about McDonough? And that's when Dominic gets in his face. Dominic gets up in Gunther's face. And, oh my God, give me Dominic and Gunther. And Dom says that title belongs to us. And that's when Gunther shoves Dominic, and then Priest needs to be held back as Judgment Day retreats. And so just a little bit of a shoving match there between the two factions. I really like the interaction. That was a lot of fun. And backstage after that, I think they might have gone to commercial and came back, and Rhea Ripley comes up to Dominic. Mommy comes up to Dom and is like, "What? Are you serious, Gunther?" And she goes, "You better have this." And he goes, "Don't worry, I got this." And she goes, "Well, you better." And she storms off, and the rest of Judgment Day kind of encourages Dominic to go smooth that over. "Hey, dude, you might want to go smooth that over." She looks pissed. So he's like, "Okay, I'm going to go smooth that over." As he's walking away, he comes face to face with Andrade, and he's very awkward. And he's a little weird. Oh, hi. I haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Almost like he's ashamed. Like, I don't recall what their history is. Did Dominic and Andrade, was there something going on there with Ray and Andrade before Andrade left and Dominic was involved? I don't recall their history, but Dominic was kind of like, "Oh, yeah, hi." And he's like, "It's good to see you. I haven't talked in a while. I'd like to see you, hang out later." And Dom's like, "Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll see you around." He wants nothing to do with Andrade. And Andrade's more like, "Come on, what's wrong? What's wrong?" So I kind of like that. Just watching Dominic be really uncomfortable about running into him and just how awkward he seemed. I really liked that. So anyway, I can't remember if I guess that happened before the street fight, the little Dominic thing backstage. I'm pretty sure it did. So the one thing I didn't catch was that, did they announce something for Raw? I know they've already announced Becky and Nia Jax. They're going to announce another match later. Did they announce Gunther and Dominic like next week or something? Did I miss that? I didn't see if they mentioned any specific scheduled match between the two, so I'm not sure. But Mommy is not too happy with Dominic. So then we get the Imperium versus New Day street fight. New Day's out there in their jeans and hockey jerseys, San Jose hockey jerseys, which is where the show was tonight. Looked to be pretty much a sold-out house. Friday, SmackDown is sold out as well, where The Rock will be making his return. And I'm still holding out hope for that Big E return. I mentioned it at the Royal Rumble, feeling that Big E that could have like the Edge 2020 moment at the Rumble. It didn't happen. Would love something at WrestleMania if they're saving something and Big E is able to join the New Day in some big surprise at WrestleMania. You know, the New Day were a part of one of the most fun and best returns in WWE history when they announced the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania 33. Remember that? When they were the hosts or whatnot and the Hardys came out? I feel like you could recreate that almost, but now they're almost going to announce the return of themselves. You know, if they can find some sort of a situation like that where they come out and hold on a minute, we got a special announcement, and they bring out Big E. I don't know if you can figure something out like that. If Big E has been cleared and he's been secretly planning a return to the ring behind the scenes, he might be planning to never return. I have no idea what's going on, but if by some miracle he's been okay, or he's been given green lights by doctors to resume his wrestling career and he's comfortable and he's ready to do that, and he's been keeping it quiet, oh man, I would love for some just major return or something like that for him at WrestleMania. Maybe Gunther could issue an open challenge and he comes out, something like that. But having Big E return would be a lot of fun at WrestleMania. This match was fun. It was a street fight. There was tables, there was chairs, there was kendo sticks, a lot of brutality here. I really did like the jeans look that Kofi and Xavier had. We had Kofi on the outside crashing through the table while Xavier Woods went head first through a chair that was stuck in the between the ropes, and then an immediate roll up by Kaiser to Xavier for the win, and Imperium got the big win there that felt like it might have been a little bit of a blow off of their issue. And again, it might need to be because Gunther's moving on to other stuff now, and I felt like, New Day feuding with Imperium would have been the perfect place for Big E to come back, and even up the odds on the New Day's side and perhaps even challenge Gunther for the title. But it kind of feels like unlikely from where we sit. After that, we had Chad Gable backstage with Adam Pearce. He's pleading his case for an Intercontinental title shot as well, mentioning how he needs to pay Gunther back for the effect that their last match had on his daughter and all that stuff, and that never really got paid off either. And Chad Gable was recently working Gunther at the live events. Not sure how much to read into that, but it gives me hope that there might still be a chance for Chad Gable. The only problem with that is that it's not been like Cody or Becky and Rhea. It's not like they've been subtly telling you that story every year. Gable had that little short run there where he challenged Gunther a bunch of times, but then it was never really revisited very much. And for them just to bring it back now would be great. I just kind of wish Gable, was fighting this whole time for that opportunity back and doing a little bit less of the Maxine and the silly backstage stuff with Tozawa. Just a little bit more focused on that would have made this easier if that's what they're going to do. I still think Gable having that IC win over Gunther at Mania would be awesome, but I'm not sure if that's what they're going to do either. It feels like they're setting up a lot of possibilities, which means there's going to have to be some sort of a match to determine this. There's enough Monday Night Raws left to where you could just do this on Raw and determine who's going to face Gunther with either a series of matches or a mini tournament or a triple threat or a fatal four-way or something like that. There's plenty of time on TV to figure out Gunther's challenger prior to Mania. But I did like that one suggestion of having a ladder match on night one to determine who faces Gunther on night two, because Gunther, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember. Was Gunther night one? Was Gunther's win over McIntyre and Sheamus on night one? Might have been. I don't even remember last year. I was there, and I don't remember which night that happened on. But I feel like if it was night one, then I feel like Gunther defending the title on night two would be better. I feel like he was night two. I feel like Seth and Logan was night one. I don't know. I forgot. I was there and I forgot. So that could work. The ladder match thing could work. That could be a lot of fun. I don't think I want to see Gunther have a multi-man match again. He just had that last year and he won. And I certainly don't want to see Gunther really lose the title since he's had it this long. I don't want to see him lose it where he's not being pinned. On one hand, you could say, oh, that just protects him. But at the same time, when you've had a run this long and this dominant, it would do more for somebody else to have you pinned, because you've already, Gunther's going to be moving on to main events and he can take a loss here to anybody and be fine. It will not matter. And I feel like you should use, that value that he's built up and not being beaten so long to beat him. Braun Breaker is another one. But he is on SmackDown, so I'm not sure where Braun Breaker is going to fit into things either and what he may or may not do at WrestleMania. If he's going to do anything and have any sort of a match, they're probably going to have to lay the groundwork for that on SmackDown starting this week as well. So, so far, all he's done is had one kind of quickie match on SmackDown, right? So I'm not sure if there's a place for him unless they do. You got to remember, they're going to do that Andre the Giant Battle Royal again. They are, and they're probably going to do it on SmackDown, which fucking sucks. He could just win that. He might be your Andre the Giant Battle Royal winner, Braun Breaker. I mean, start him slow. There's nothing. Is there an opponent on SmackDown right now that's kind of off my radar that I'm not thinking about that he could actually work with one-on-one? because that's not going to be Logan Paul. I think Logan Paul and Randy Orton are going to be working one-on-one. So what would Braun Breaker do at WrestleMania if he's not involved in some sort of multi-man attraction match? Last year, they did that great showcase match, which I thought was stupid, and I didn't give a shit who won, but turned out to be super fun and super great. So maybe they book something like that, some multi-man chaos match, where Braun Breaker wins and at least has a winning moment beating a bunch of guys. Otherwise, I think he's your André winner. And since WrestleMania is 2 fucking nights long, why can't the André the Giant Battle Royal be back on the show? My God, they did it right 1 year. When they first started the André the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania 30, I thought it was such a great idea and such a great way to immortalize André, have a battle royal named after him. Battle royals in the early days of WrestleMania were a lot of fun. Bret Hart was the runner-up in both of them, in WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 4, and they've used them sporadically, occasionally here and there. WrestleMania 14 and 17 and a few in the Diva Battle Royals and all that. Battle royals have always been a theme, and I thought that having one named after André when he won the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2 was awesome, and it was such a great finish with Cesaro body slamming the Big Show over the top rope and winning it, and I felt like that was going to be a huge match every year. They have created something great, because Cesaro got like a title shot out of that, or got like a little bit of a mini push, but it was a joke, a fucking joke every year after that. Complete and total joke. And it's been one of the more disappointing things WWE has done. So I vote to bring the André the Giant Battle Royal back to night 1. Just have it open up the show, or put it on the kickoff if you must. Fine. If it's got to go on the kickoff, put it on the kickoff, you assholes. But I feel like it could go on the main card. And if it did, Braun Breaker would be the perfect guy to win that. And just have a regular ass SmackDown. It's a disgrace to have the André the Giant Battle Royal on SmackDown. I don't know if that was a Vince call, or if that's a company's call, or if that's something they're going to continue this year. But if it's up to me, I'm sticking that bitch on the main card. There's plenty of time to do that. Anyway, we got off track there. After that, we had Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler defeating Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. They were both pissed because Candice and Indy got a tag team title shot at Elimination Chamber on the kickoff show, and they figured the only reason they got it was because Indy was from Australia, and they thought that was horseshit, so they were going to come out there and kick their asses, and they did. Shayna tapped out Indy Hartwell for the win. Then we cut backstage to R-Truth, and he's sitting down on the couch. He's reminiscing about his days in the Judgment Day. And that's when he's joined by The Miz and HBK and Triple H, which is who R-Truth thinks Gargano and Ciampa are. And they start talking about Degeneration X, or he starts asking them if they want to regenerate. Y'all trying to regenerate something? And then now they're going to be Regeneration X, or maybe DIX instead of DIY. And I feel like maybe, piggybacking off of somebody else's gimmick and stuff, isn't always a recipe for success, often isn't that great. But I feel like if they were to do some sort of a little just a little sprinkle of DX into DIY's presentation, acknowledging their history as fans of DX and anything they've done on television with Shawn and Triple H, because, Shawn and Triple H are, the last, 2 heads of NXT. Both work very closely, especially Triple H with these guys, and they have personal relationships with both, and being able to pass on a little bit of that gimmick to them and bequeath it to them to use to help maybe get them over, or get the fans a little bit more interested in their presentation, especially if they maybe started dressing a little bit more like those guys. I really like the gear that Gargano had on tonight. Maybe that would help them. These are just ideas, because DIY is a tremendous tag team, and I feel like on the main roster, they haven't given you that feel of being a tag team of the caliber that they were, like when they were having those matches with the Revival and shit. So I think that maybe something like that could help. So far, it's a little bit weird with just R-Truth being a part of this, and hopefully it's not going to venture too far into the comedy routine, but having some sort of Triple H and HBK influence. I'll say this for DIY and Ciampa and Gargano, who I like them both a lot. If they can't figure out a way to get over with having the blessing and the support of the 2 guys running up the 2 brands creative, then you might not be able to get over. You know, I mean, I feel like they got all the advantage in the world here, and Triple H is going to try his best to do what he can for him. So hopefully this is the beginning of something a little bit fun. And then it was time for a promo that we knew we were going to get. We knew tonight on the show we were going to get Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins one-on-one in the ring, a face-off now that Drew McIntyre won the Chamber and he is officially going to WrestleMania. Before we do that, though, let me just go right over here to the chat real quick because I want to knock out a couple of other super chats, one from JLW and another one from Rarely Even. Thanks for 5 more. I like that Triple H is trying to make the tag team division better, men's and women's. Long way to go, but he clearly cares more than the old man did. Yeah, Vince McMahon was never really a huge, fan of the tag team wrestling, and Triple H seems to care more about that type of stuff, although not everything's perfect. And I still really want them to consolidate or figure out whatever they're going to do with those 2 sets of tag belts that Judgment Day has been running around with. At some point, they got to figure that out. And the longer they wait, makes me feel like they're eventually going to ununify these things and both brands are going to have tag team titles again. And I don't really want that and don't really think it's necessary. I'm hoping that they just stick with the way it is, have one tag team to represent the whole company as champions and consolidate and make new championship belts for them. That's what I feel like they need. And JLW celebrating the first super chat on a live stream. Thank you so much for the $5. Hey, Greg, I believe WWE should change their WrestleMania nights. If there is going to be 2 nights at Mania, it should count as WrestleMania itself. I believe WWE should change their WrestleMania nights. Yeah, well, I consider both nights of WrestleMania. I mean, WWE kind of does too. They're considering, if you main event night 1, they consider you now a night or a WrestleMania main eventer. So they've opened up the doors for more opportunities now for 2 main events being possible and, just more matches in general. But I'm not sure what you were trying to say there, but the 2 nights of WrestleMania is something that is still debated. How long has it been now? The last one night WrestleMania was WrestleMania 35, right? And then they went to 2 nights during COVID, maybe to spread that out. And then they just decided to stick with it. And it's been working relatively well, I think. I had a blast last year at WrestleMania 39. Anyway, it's now WrestleMania weekend. Yeah, exactly. It's WrestleMania week. They do shit all week. But anyway, up next on Raw, we had the big Drew McIntyre promo. This was great. So McIntyre comes out, and it was funny. Last night on the live stream, by the way, last night we watched WrestleMania 8 together. I'm in the middle of editing some reactions from that. And that was a lot of fun last night when we were watching that. And somebody mentioned in the chat that Drew McIntyre is injured and is going to miss WrestleMania. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I haven't seen anything about that today. It would be, if that was the case, then people that I go to for this type of information would have that out by now. So I wasn't really thinking there was anything to that. And then he gets on the mic and says that he did it. He won the Elimination Chamber. And he said that he had an incident after the show, an incident that took place. And he said in that match, he got kicked in the head and his eardrum burst. And after the show, the docs told him that he might not make WrestleMania. You're injured. You might not be able to make the show. And he said, "Who do you think I am, CM Punk?" Oh my God. And he said, "Nothing's going to stop me from making WrestleMania." And then he sits down, CM Punk style in the ring. Just great shit. And he said, "Punk, you said you're straight edge. You don't drink alcohol. So last night I drank twice as much for both of us to celebrate my victory at Elimination Chamber." That was great. And then he calls out Seth Rollins. So McIntyre kind of baiting you in there. And I'm like, wait a minute. When he started talking about being injured, I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody did mention that last night in our live stream chat, but I blew it off because I just didn't take much stock in it. I'm like, if that was really happening, it would be all over the place. And there wouldn't just be, 1 or 2 spammers on YouTube or or Twitter getting this information out there. So I didn't even think twice about it. And when he started talking for a second there, my heart sunk. I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. If he turns up injured after that, I guess that would be karma when you're making fun of Punk's injury. But the fact that it was all just a swerve was pretty funny. This Drew McIntyre is so tremendous. I'm glad that he's getting rolling. Hopefully there's a method to his contract madness here. Hopefully he's trying to build as much momentum as possible to maximize his value when it comes time to re-up that deal, to maximize his money. But I really hope he does resign, because I don't want this Drew McIntyre to go away, or this Drew McIntyre character to be affected creatively by potentially what could be going on with his contract. I'm hoping that all that gets figured out. Otherwise, if he's leaving for AEW, then I think he needs to lose a loser leaves town match to CM Punk at like SummerSlam or something. But he calls out Seth Rollins then. Seth Rollins then comes out dressed in a big ass like maroon outfit or suit of some kind, and basically kind of tells Seth that he needs to be more focused. You need to let go of this bloodline stuff, because it's going to taint my opportunity. You know, if you allow yourself to get injured or compromised in any way by the bloodline, you're going to take an opportunity away from me. I'm going to win the title, and it's going to have an asterisk by it, I guess, is kind of what he was saying there. And he doesn't want to see anything happen to his opportunity. You know, he got fucked over during COVID and then Clash at the Castle. And, you know, he's telling Seth to get his act together. And Seth said, maybe you're right. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe I'll be easy pickings for you. But basically, it's a risk he's willing to take. And that everything that Roman Reigns has done, everything that the bloodline has done, it's only a matter of time before they come after him. And if McIntyre's champion, they'll come after him as well. McIntyre's already fallen victim to the bloodline before he knows what they're about. He knows what they're capable of. If anybody should understand this, it should be you. And it's bigger than us. What's going on with the bloodline and their reign of terror is bigger than you or I. And some risks in life are worth taking, and he's not willing to really listen to reason there from McIntyre. He's determined, as Cody is, to take down the bloodline. So that was kind of the end of it. He ended up leaving after really letting Drew have it there, letting him know, like, no, this is a serious issue, and it's something that I take and I'm invested in. And he leaves. So with Rollins now, we still really don't know what's going to happen at WrestleMania. Obviously, he's facing Drew McIntyre. Obviously, that potential tag team match that they might have teased in that trailer feels like it's not going to happen, at least where we're sitting today. It all depends on what The Rock says on Friday. I feel like The Rock will probably have to accept the challenge, or maybe accept it with a condition or a stipulation or something like that. One thing they could do, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do, and this would tie into some of the traditions they've done at the decade WrestleManias. At 10, there's the coin toss and the multiple matches. At 20, there was the triple threat. And then at 30, there was the triple threat. But in order to get to that triple threat, something else had to happen, didn't it? Daniel Bryan needed to beat Triple H in order to get put into that match. So maybe Rock accepts Cody Rhodes' challenge under the condition that Cody puts his WrestleMania shot against The Rock on the line. Or I'm sorry, against Roman on the line. So I don't know if that means that if The Rock beats Cody, that The Rock gets the title match, or if it means that if The Rock beats Cody, there is no title match. So maybe Cody has to put his match against Roman on night 2 on the line against The Rock in a match on night 1. That could happen, which would make me very fucking paranoid that if Cody loses and then the WWE just fakes us out at the last minute. They wanted to do Roman and Rock. Fans freaked out. They pitched a huge fit. So WWE now pivots and they go back to their original plan, but book it in a way to where at the last minute, again, they can go right back to their other original plans and just give all the fans a big fuck you. I mean, if Cody were to lose to The Rock on night 1 and lose his opportunity, would fans even show up on night 2? I'm not even sure how that would work. So we'll see. I don't think we're going to get maybe not a total answer on Friday. Like Rock might accept Cody's challenge, but we might not have a match made yet because Cody's already booked for WrestleMania. So even if Rock accepts the challenge, you would think it can't take place at WrestleMania unless they're the ones that suggest maybe this happens on night one and Cody has to work double duty. This would put him at the same type of a disadvantage that Daniel Bryan was in, not only having to beat Triple H in that match one-on-one. Just beating Triple H is a quite the hill to climb itself, but then he got the shit kicked out of him after the match, got stretchered out, then came back and beat Batista and Randy Orton, both of them tapping out Batista in a performance that could only be described as superhuman or possibly not that believable. So, is Cody going to do something like that too? Cody wants to take everything from Roman Reigns. Does he beat The Rock and then beat Roman Reigns on night two? 2 big victories over The Rock and Roman. Talk about putting somebody over. I mean, that would be really similar to what they did with Daniel Bryan. Not only did he beat Triple H, but then he went and beat 2 other men twice his size while injured and not 100%. So he was at a huge disadvantage, came out on top anyway. They could be doing that with Cody now to where not only is he going to beat Roman Reigns, he's going to beat The Rock too. Unless he beats The Rock and loses to Roman Reigns and again does not finish his story. So they aren't making it obvious that Cody is going to finish his story. You have to think if WWE was capable of pulling out the rug out from under us before, who's to say they won't do it again? I'm not going to sleep that easy until Cody is celebrating with the title with Pyro. That's when I will exhale. But before then, boy, WWE is really making you think that they're going to piss us off. So we will see. We'll see what The Rock says on Friday and where Rollins fits into this, because Rollins has only stepped up and said, I've got your back. You don't have to do this alone. And when Cody in Australia issued the challenge to The Rock, Seth stepped right up and said, I've got your back. And so you have to wonder in the grand scheme of things if there's some big swerve or if people are in cahoots with each other. I think somebody mentioned like a Seth Rollins heel turn here. Maybe he's in on it with Roman Reigns, but that would be tough to do considering Rollins and Roman Reigns have not been kind to each other on the mic. And I would like to see that match also revisited again as well, unless you're reuniting the Shield somehow and it's a big Shield reunion, but they've maybe brought somebody else in to replace Moxley. I don't know. But that would be weird. I think the Cody and Rock thing seems kind of likely since The Rock turning heel felt like it was plan B. This wasn't the plan all along. Rock's leaning into it, doing a great job with it, might be doing it long term. But if this is a temporary fix to just patch up the problem they created when The Rock returned, Rock being in cahoots with Cody Rhodes, similar to how Mike Tyson was in cahoots with Stone Cold Steve Austin, leading into WrestleMania 14, joining DX, only to turn on them in the end. The Rock could very well be doing that. I feel like The Rock being in cahoots with Cody is more likely than Rollins being in cahoots with Roman. But I do feel like it's possible for them to give us some sort of a big swerve or heel turn there, because when you think about the original plans, or 2 different sets of original plans, if The Rock was going to work with Roman Reigns, then Rock was going to be the babyface. And now he's a heel, and that wasn't intended. If CM Punk wouldn't have gotten injured, he would have faced Seth Rollins. And it felt like leading up in January prior to Punk's injury that Rollins was more the heel in those promos. So if it would have been Rollins and Punk, then Rollins would have been heel. So I could see how both of those could possibly be plausible. Rock being in cahoots with Cody since the plan was for him to be a face anyway, and Seth maybe being in cahoots with Roman since he was probably going to be working face against Punk anyway. So maybe that could work, and I feel like one of them is likely, but probably The Rock being in cahoots with Cody could be the most likely there. Although, if they're about to set up a match at WrestleMania, then they're going to really have to be in cahoots with each other. We're going to have to go out there and kick each other's asses just to be a part of this ploy against Roman Reigns. So that might make it unlikely. And maybe the match is for later on, but I feel like The Rock, he's having a match at WrestleMania. You know, that was the plan anyway. So now he's either going to have to just do a different match or not be on the show at all. I feel like they're going to work Rock in. And maybe double duty with Cody would be doable. And we'll see how Rollins affects that. You know, if it's Cody and Roman, I have gotten Rock and Roman confused for the last 3 months talking about these two together. If Cody and Rock is one-on-one, does that mean that Rollins is like at ringside, or is he just there standing by in case he's needed or needs to run in or whatever? You know, or is Rollins and Roman, maybe both guys defending their titles the next night? They would be the cornermen. That might be fun. Cody and Rock one-on-one, and your two world champions backing up each guy. And then that means both titles are defended on night 2. Yeah, I mean, think about that. If Cody and Rock are going to work, that's why I feel like that match has got to be like maybe the beginning of the show. Somebody in the chat might say, Greg, are you fucking crazy? The Rock opening the show? I'm like, well, you know, what are we supposed to do here? You know, is the world title, Seth's title, not going to main event night 1? There's no rule that says it has to, but that means Rollins and Drew would have to be before Cody and Rock in the main event. What if Rollins loses his title and then loses his smile or gets injured or something and he's not able to back Cody up, you know? I feel like the Rock and Cody match would have to happen before Rollins defends his title. So that's why maybe the opener of night 1 is the place to put that match. Cody Rhodes bookends the whole pay-per-view. Opening match on night 1, final match on night 2. It's the Cody Rhodes show. This is his coming out party. This is his bar mitzvah. He's going to be celebrated, and it's his big day or weekend. That might be doable, you know, because then you could have Rollins out there and whatnot, and then Rollins could still defend his title in the main event, and then maybe something happens in that Cody and Rock match that opens the show, and Rollins gets hurt, you know, going into his match with McIntyre in the main event, maybe a little bit, you know, less than 100%, and fuck, you could tie in Damian Priest to that. There's a lot to think about, because you can't just say, oh, The Rock would never be in the first match. Yeah, I know your brain is going to, you know, just automatically think that, just instinctively. But when you think about the other matches and where to put them, the only other stage that would be better than the main event really would be the opener, would be the first, especially if they pre-advertise it. I would advertise it as the opener. Make sure everybody knows. Establish that on TV. And The Rock can be like, and The Rock or Cody Rhodes could even say something like that. If The Rock accepts Cody's challenge and then Cody is like, you know, I'm so eager to get my hands on you, or even The Rock can say, I'm so eager to get my hands on you that I don't want to wait any longer. I want to also face you at WrestleMania. And since WrestleMania has 2 nights, I'll face you on night 1. And they can use that as a reason. And he says, and I don't even want to wait until the end of the night. I don't want to wait till the middle of the show. As soon as WrestleMania starts, the very first thing I want to do is kick your ass. And I want to open the show and face you one-on-one to start WrestleMania. That's going to be our opening match. Let everybody know 2 weeks ahead of time. That way, when everybody's in Philly and they're getting to the arena, they're in there and ready and in their seat by the time the main card starts. Most people will be anyway, but that would be extra insurance that hopefully everybody can get there so they can watch that big one. And that's what you open with. And then you can run some sort of an angle there. Cody loses or beats him or whatever. And I don't know how you balance it out. I don't know if Cody wins and then wins, or if he loses to The Rock and then beats Roman. Cody's WrestleMania title shot could be on the line. Rollins could be in his corner. Roman could be in Rock's corner. Rollins could turn on Cody. Rock could turn on Roman. Everybody could turn on each other. We could have a double swerve. Cody and Roman and Rollins could form a new Shield. Who knows what they could do? Who knows what they could do? So that's fun to think about and dissect. So let me know what your ideas are in the chat there. After that, after McIntyre and Seth had their ordeal, we had Nia Jax taking on Liv Morgan. Exactly what I predicted came true here. During this match, Becky Lynch did attack. I predicted on Twitter a non-finish. It wasn't a non-finish. It was a victory for Nia Jax because Liv Morgan was DQ'd. Becky hopped the barricade when Morgan and Nia Jax were on the outside of the ring and attacked Nia Jax. Referee rang the bell. After that is when Michael Cole announced to the audience the passing of Ole Anderson. Props to WWE for announcing that. I thought that was great. Cole and Graves both said a couple of words about Ole, and we talked about him at the opening of the show here. And I thought that was cool that they announced and acknowledged the death of Ole Anderson. And then we cut backstage where Becky Lynch is talking to Adam Pearce, and she wants Nia Jax, right? So Adam Pearce is like, fine, you get Nia Jax next week. And that's when Liv Morgan shows up pissed off and gets in Becky Lynch's face and says, not everything is about you. I was in the middle of something out there, and then you came in and fucked it up. God damn it. So really pissed at Becky. Becky's making no friends. She seemed a little bit remorseful about that, and I did like it. Now, I might be looking too deep here into this, but Becky Lynch already suffered that loss to Nia Jax at the beginning of the year. You know, at some point she's going to get that win back. And I always felt like if Becky is going to win the championship, hypothetically, if the plan internally, creatively in WWE, and we don't know what it is, but if the plan in WWE is to have Becky Lynch beat Rhea Ripley for the championship at WrestleMania 40, which I'm not even sure if I want to see that, but if that's the plan, then I would save Becky Lynch getting her win back over Nia Jax until after WrestleMania and make it a title match. Wouldn't that make most sense? So if Becky Lynch faces Nia Jax now and just beats her, she's already got the title match at WrestleMania, so it's not like a match that she needs to win to propel her into that spot. She's already got it. I feel like this is a sign that Rhea Ripley is going to retain. Because I feel like if Becky was going to win, this would be saved. We would not get this next week. But instead, if the plan is for Rhea Ripley to retain, that means they want to give Becky Lynch that win back now, ahead of WrestleMania, have her beat Nia Jax, give her momentum going into WrestleMania for Ripley to squash. You know, where if it was done, you know, the other way around, then, you know, Becky would be champion. But another idea I had too is that if Becky was going to face, I'm trying to think of my train of thought here. I just kind of lost it. Not facing Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, let's say that Becky is in fact going to win the title. Then if the plan right now is for Becky to win the title and you've got the match next week against Nia Jax, what I would do is I would have Nia Jax beat Becky Lynch again. I would have Nia beat Becky again. So like either way you do it, if you were going to have Becky win the title, then I would want to save this match until after WrestleMania, like I said, so it can be a title match. But if you're going to do it before WrestleMania, what good does it do to have Becky Lynch beat Nia Jax before WrestleMania when Nia Jax just lost a championship match to Rhea Ripley last weekend, and now she's going to lose another match to Becky Lynch? I would have her beat Becky Lynch again. I would have her beat her again. You can have Liv Morgan show up. I think that's what's going to happen. I think Liv Morgan is going to show up and cost Becky Lynch the match next week. And Nia Jax is going to beat Becky Lynch again. And I wouldn't even beat her like DQ beat her. I would pin her, beat her. Yes, who cares? It's Becky Lynch. She's a fucking icon already a Hall of Famer. She can take a loss, especially if she's going to win a championship in a couple of weeks. So if you beat Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan comes out to get revenge on Becky for getting in her business, costs Becky the match. Becky gets bonsai dropped and pinned by Nia Jax. Now Nia Jax has 2 victories over Becky Lynch in just a couple of months' time. Now when Becky Lynch wins the title from Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, boom, you got your first title defense right there. Becky Lynch defending against Nia Jax and getting her win back. So it feels like that would be a good way to do it, but I felt like I might be reading too much into Becky and Nia Jax being booked next week because I feel like it only sets up a couple of scenarios. I feel like if Becky just beats Nia Jax outright next week, just beats her clean, 1, 2, 3 in the middle, then she's probably not going to win the title at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley is going to retain. But if Liv comes in, costs Becky the match, Jax gets a big victory, then I feel like there's like a likelihood that Becky Lynch could win the title at WrestleMania. We will see. But I kind of feel like in my heart of hearts, I'm still hoping that we run with Mommy for a little while. I'm in no rush. I know it's been a while. She won the title a year ago, right? At WrestleMania, beat Charlotte for it. So I would be fine with her title reign continuing. You have to think about, once we get the full card for WrestleMania, we'll look at it and we'll see how many championship matches we have. Not every championship can change hands. They all can't change hands. So we're not going to get a cash in and Cody finishing his story and Sammy beating Gunther and Bayley beating Io and Becky beating Rhea Ripley. You know what I mean? Something's got to give. Somebody has to retain their championship. I really hope it's not Roman. Right now, when you're looking at the board, I'm kind of hoping that it's Rhea Ripley, because Logan Paul and Randy Orton might wind up being for the championship. I don't know. I would love it if it wasn't. I would love if they could do a TV match like next week with Owens and Logan Paul. That's what I would do. I would do Owens and Logan Paul like on SmackDown, like next week or the week after. And then Randy Orton costs Logan Paul the match. Owens wins the U.S. title. He can now be champion going into WrestleMania to defend that U.S. title against somebody or do a multi-man match or something like that. And then you can do Logan Paul and Randy Orton. Because what good would it be for Randy Orton to win the U.S. title at this point? You know, like, why? Who cares? You know, Owens, though, he's had a few runs with it already, but, you know, at least he could maybe do more with it, have more fun with it. And Randy Orton and Logan Paul, on paper, needs no championship in that match. And maybe that's something they do. I kind of hope that it is. So we are continuing on with Raw. We cut backstage to Jey Uso, where he talks about some of his recent bumps in the road and trying to get back on track. And every time he thinks he's going to make it, something pulls him back down, his brother or bad luck or whatever. And McIntyre then comes into frame and tells him that he deserves it. Jay, I've been seeing everything you've been going through lately, and I just want to tell you, you deserve it. God, I love McIntyre. He is so spectacular. So they start brawling. Jay just punches him square in his face. They start brawling. There's a pull apart, and a match is now set for next week. So we have Becky and Nia Jax and Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre set for next week. Weird little interview. Backstage next, we had Cody Rhodes. I'm sorry, not Cody Rhodes. We had Grayson Waller. He's interviewed backstage with Kathy Kelly. Once again, moment of silence. Okay, and she's back there with Waller and Austin Theory, who basically just says nothing. He got his ass kicked at Elimination Chamber. You can already tell there's already some tension being teased here between the two. And Waller said something kind of condescending, and Theory looked over at him. I can't remember what the line was. But while they were talking, excuse me, as Grayson Waller was talking, in the background, you saw Paul Heyman walk by on his phone, doing that stupid fucking thing where he talks into the front of it. Call The Rock. He had two phones. Call The Rock. Call him. Why's he got two phones? And he's got two phones. One's got to call The Rock. One's got to call Roman Reigns. You want to talk to them both in one ear? Like, Jesus Christ. And I don't understand. Am I blind? Like, there's no speaker up here, right? I don't think. Is that a speaker? Maybe it is. I thought the speaker was down here. So if you're going to say, like, call somebody, I thought you would speak to the bottom of your phone, not to the top. But maybe that thing is no, that's just the ear. That's where you hear shit. So why is Heyman going like this? Or does he have a different phone? Or Android's like upside down? I don't understand why he does this. I'm also old, and so I have basic technology, iPhone 13 up in here, but I don't know why he's going like this. I just feel like he would have to go like that. That would make more sense than that. Am I crazy? Educate me, please. So Heyman is back there. Quick little walk past, which I did not see. I did not know Heyman was back there until Michael Cole mentioned it when they came back from the commercial break. So Cody makes his entrance, the whole thing. So that's going on. And it's Cody Rhodes and Grayson Waller, and that's when Michael Cole mentions that Paul Heyman was there. Now, I'm really glad. I like Waller. I think he has a big future, but I did not want to see this match go very long. I did not want to see Waller take Cody to the limit or anything like that. There's plenty of time for Waller to have those outings. This had to be a Cody definitive victory, and it was. Did not take Cody Rhodes long, just a few minutes, to dispose of Grayson Waller, hitting him with the crossroads for the win. When he pinned him, there was 9 minutes left in the show. It was 51 past the hour, just like it is right now when I'm speaking. And I'm like, okay, something's going to happen. So out comes Paul Heyman after the match, and Paul Heyman has with him 3 men in black suits who he claims are NYPD cops who have been suspended. So he's got some suspended cops with him, and he demands that Cody Rhodes retract his WrestleMania challenge to Roman Reigns, and Cody just says straight up no. And Cody said this is bullshit. As soon as he came out, Cody immediately ran outside the ring, grabbed a chair, grabbed the mic, and said, I'm not doing this. I'm fed up with this shit. If this is a bloodline attack, then come and get me. And Heyman then says, I've got a better idea, and instructs his goons to kind of surround the ring. And Cody basically says, if anybody takes one step towards me, one more step, I'm going to lay out everybody in this ring. And he does. He goes after them all, hits them all with chairs, and I think he hits the crossroads on one of them. Cody Rhodes ended racism and brought it back here in the WWE, picking out the only black one and hitting him with the crossroads. Jesus, Cody. So Cody does that and takes out everybody and gets on the mic and tells Paul Heyman basically to fuck off, and the bloodline isn't the ones hunting him, he's hunting them. And I like this because he wasn't really like that last year. Last year he had a couple of cool interactions with Paul Heyman where he kind of set him straight and be like, don't pull that shit with me, fat boy, which I did like. This year, he feels like a little bit more aggressive with it. Like he told Heyman, don't even take one step closer. Don't try me. I'm not playing with you motherfuckers anymore. So Cody feels like he has a tremendous amount of determination this time around, and he knows what to look for, and he's not going to be duped again. And that's why if he goes in there and they still get the better of him, that's just going to be really disappointing, because this time he should have his eyes peeled, head on a swivel. He's got Rollins backing him up, and maybe he has another trick up his sleeve as well, maybe in the form of The Rock. So we will see. We will see. Does anybody know who those guys were, by the way? The wrestling plants. I mean, obviously those NYPD cops were, local independent wrestlers. The one guy in the middle looked older. The other two looked a little bit young, but I just laugh that Heyman brought out suspended police officers. He said they're off duty, and he goes, well, they're not really off duty. They're suspended. I'm like, okay, for what? For what? I like that Rarely Even has to ask why I'm doing a moment of silence for Kathy Kelly. I think you should do one too. Let's see. Who's next on the Super Chats? Now that we have... sorry. I take a sip of my Stella. We don't often go 2 hours on the Raw reviews. That's fun. Take a sip of my Stella and see what you guys want to talk about. I do a refresh as well. There we go. There we go. I want to get do these 2 super chats that I missed. First one. First one from Nate Dog Kata. Thank you for the $5, dude. Welcome back. Do you think WWE dare do a false finish to the Mania match? Roman wins via Bloodline and Rock interference, and then Triple H comes out and restarts the match. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not a fan of those very much. They've worked a couple of times, but like, for example, King of the Ring 1993. I hated that Brett lost. He lost. Bam Bam hit him with his top rope headbutt and pinned him. 1, 2, 3 right in the middle. And they reversed the decision because Luna came out with the chair. And I kind of felt like that tarnished it a little bit, and I'm like, okay. And we've seen plenty of match restarts before where something happens and the authority figure is like, oh, hell no. So that is fine. Triple H and The Rock already having that little confrontation, and Triple H reminding Rock in a SmackDown promo who's really in charge here. They have laid some groundwork for something like that to happen, to where if Rock and Bloodline really pulled some huge shenanigans, then Triple H can come out and be like, it's enough of this shit. Restart this fucking match. And Cody finishes his story. I don't know. It depends on how good they want to make Cody look. You know, you think about what Daniel Bryan went through at WrestleMania 30. He didn't need a match restart. He didn't need anything to get it done. And he was facing a tougher battle, really realistically, than Cody kind of is, because he had to wrestle twice in the same night. One time against, a multi-time former world champion who's been known to be extremely, extremely vicious. Pedigreeing your face through thumbtacks and invading your home type of vicious. Then he beats that guy, then gets his ass kicked, put through a table and annihilated, and then goes into the main event in a body cast and still wins without any additional help from somebody restarting a match. So I don't know, man. I don't know. A false finish, you would risk pissing the fans off, and then when you make it right, some of the anger might still linger. Wrestling fans are very angry people. Just ask Rarely Even. You do something like that, you piss a bunch of people off again, you get people leaving. You'd have to have Triple H coming out right away, before they start hurling shit into the ring. So I feel like that would be a dangerous idea, but one that I wouldn't rule out at all. Rarely Even's got 5 more. I think Rock could be fine with opening night 1 if it's good business. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would act superior to that. Well, being good business isn't going to matter. WrestleMania is sold out. It's going to do great business regardless of where the match is. The match could be on the kickoff. The match could be on the next Tuesday. And the WrestleMania gate numbers, all that stuff is going to be largely the same regardless of where the match is. But I think about matches like that in terms of the best, for it to get the most showcase, the most spotlight. And if you're not going to put that in the main event because that's already pegged for the World Heavyweight Championship or one of the women's titles, and you don't want to have Cody main event both nights of WrestleMania back to back, then you got to think of, okay, where else would that match go? Where would be the perfect place? What better place than the opening match of WrestleMania? Seth Rollins won the World Heavyweight title, did he not? In the opening match of WrestleMania at 35, right? So at least I think he did. So something like that would be fine because it would get a lot of attention. It would be the first thing you would see at WrestleMania, and it would be quite the face-off. Now, let me think. WrestleMania's in Philly. Yeah, it'll be dark. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. I'm like, is it going to be a daylight type of thing? But no, it should be pretty dark in Philly. Well, maybe not. Shit, I don't even know. By the time that show starts at 7 o'clock, yeah, it's probably going to be sunsetting. So I'm just trying to think of like how it looks and whatnot. Like I think of how bad like the Sting and Triple H face-off looked at WrestleMania 31 due to all the daylight. It would have been much better if it was darker, flash bulbs, that type of thing. So if you can create that type of atmosphere and environment, and you can do that in the opening match, then I think that would be great. And that's what I would try to do. So night 1 opener, curtain jerker. Why not? Why not? $2 from Rarely Even. Couldn't Cody be arrested for assaulting officers? No, they're suspended. And plus they showed up in a wrestling ring and attacked him. He defended himself. So no, I don't think there's anything for Cody to be arrested for. They were the one that surrounded him. They were the ones that posed a threat to him. And when they stepped closer, he defended himself, just like any red-blooded American would do there, Rarely Even. He just defended himself. Stand your ground, man. Stand your ground. That's all he did. No, he's not going to be arrested for that. Not at all. I don't think Cody's ever broke the law. Cody's perfect. I'm kidding. We all know that's not the case. But anyway, I have made the end of my notes here. I did not really delve too deep into the wrestling news today. I know AEW made a new hire. There's a couple of other news tidbits, but nothing earth-shattering going on, really, that I felt was urgent to talk about. So what I'm going to be doing the rest of this week is working on a lot of WrestleMania stuff. So WrestleMania March is going to kick off March 1st with a very big video that I'm going to debut, and it's a collaboration. I'm recording it tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have 3 more collaborations after that, plus 2 reviews and a special episode, all coming before WrestleMania. So make sure you stay tuned and make sure you subscribe. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday and have a good week. You will be seeing me again, probably in mic drop form. Check the second channel. I'll have a reaction hitting that If you're a member or a Patreon supporter, I have 2 videos hitting that feed in the next 2 days as well. And I might be up here for a Greg Balls of Fire or something like that this week. Not sure yet, but you'll be seeing me more. I have a pretty light work schedule this week, so I will try to get some content to you, but I'm going to be working hard behind the scenes because WrestleMania season is going to be fun here on the channel. I promise you. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Happy Monday again. Have a great night. Have a great week, and I will catch you in just a couple days. Peace.